in bed by 10. As opposed to just starting. If you're playing rock and roll, you just start at 10, but I can't handle that anymore. No. Even back in the day when I was 25 and had just quit graduate school to go do this, I was playing folk music. I was in bed by 10. So last week you had Claude Bourbon. Yeah, Claude is a character. I played a show with him a number of years ago in Fairhaven, somewhere down just north of San Francisco. And I played a show with him and a guy named Taya Gherkin, who is one of the editors of Acoustic Guitar Magazine, and both of them are really phenomenal guitarists. And at the end of the evening, they said, hey, come play a tune with us. And I'm like, I can't keep up with you guys. And they said, no, we'll only make it one chord. And then they played Ravel's Bolero for like 20 minutes, and I still couldn't keep up with them. Well, thank you very much for coming out tonight. I sure appreciate it. I have not been to Bishop Hill before, and this is a pretty remarkable place, going around and looking at everything that's here. I'm going to have to come back when I have a little more time. I have to be just north of Cleveland tomorrow night, so I got a bit of a drive tomorrow. So we will play some music. A stormy Sunday morning, and the rain was pouring down. So I took a refuge in the library uptown. And there I sulked and fretted like an angry child. Until one of the librarians sat next to me and smiled. He was tall, he was handsome, his smile was like the sun. He said, I think you need some help, you're looking rather glum. I hesitated briefly and then opened up my soul. And I told him why I wandered through the wet and cold. I said, oh, I am looking for heroes, like to drive the dark away, Superman to save the day. But all the skies are emptiness and gray. Ordinary, everyday, 9 to 5 with bills to pay. Captain Marvel's far away, tell me, where have all the heroes gone? He said everything's a story. Change the story, change the world, and here you'll find the answer to the questions you have hurled. There's no more fertile soil for the heroes that we need than all the stories gathered here for everyone to read. For this is where the hero's journey starts. Every line on every page will guide a growing heart. Now flying through the sky, that sounds like fun. But heroes are in everyone, not the few, not the one. Love justice daily done, here's the secret, your quest has won. Heroes are not born, they are honestly made by the sweat of their brow, by the tools of their trade. Sometimes with iron, sometimes with steel, but always with love and the courage to feel the labors of Hercules close to their breast, day in, day out, with no time to rest. They look just like you, they look just like me, with their capes tucked up neatly for no one to see. I sat there bewildered, I sat there perplexed. I thought, wait, don't heroes all wear leather and spandex? If what he was saying was true and was right, there were heroes all around me hidden in plain sight. And then there came a voice by our knees. A very young child said, Mr. Kent, help me please. My mother said you'd tell me where to look to find this very special book all about the dinosaurs with lots of color pictures. mostly from the late Cretaceous, but before the Cenomanian-Turonian boundary event, because that's the best part of the Mesozoic, when Tyrannosaurus Rex and Quetzalcoatlus were around, and they are like so totally cool. Mr. Kent, help me please. Now that I can do, said the man as he rose, and he pointed the child towards the books that he chose. He winked as he passed me, and I saw on his chest, under his shirt, the red shape of an S. Oh, heroes are not born, they are honestly made by the sweat of their brow, by the tools of their trade. Sometimes with iron, sometimes with steel, but always with love and the courage to feel. My name is Kray Van Kirk. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. I know that most of you, and probably all of you, have absolutely no idea of who I am or what I do, and you're still kind enough to come out and share your Sunday evening with me, and I really appreciate that. And hopefully in a couple hours you won't be thinking, well, that's 2 hours, we're not going to get back. And I never thought I was going to be this way, but I found out that I am. I'm going to go ahead and wear a mask when I'm down there among you because, and I won't whip out the phone right now to show pictures, I'm about to see my first grandson in 2 days. So I am going to be extra cautious. Yeah, I never thought I'd be the type who would whip out the phone and show pictures of the... That's me. It's bad. It's really bad. That's how it should be. That's encouraging to hear. So far, he's the only one. We'll see what happens. God was dead one morning. It was 9 a.m. Struck down by a radar dish that stretched to heaven's end. And when the prophet heard the news, she laughed until she cried. And then she shouted, God is dead, long live the divine. Then in the rain along the strip, her holiness, she let it slip all night long. Stand on the walls of Jerusalem and cry out to a desert land that we need not guns in the darkness, we need water from the sand. Oh, 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 Jerusalem. Morning after found her on a barroom floor, lying in the consequences of the night before. And staggering through dirty streets, she made her way back home and cried behind the bathroom door, naked and alone. The compass lost, the map was burned, while in the darkness monsters turned and called out her name. Stand on the walls of Jerusalem, cry out to a desert land that we need not guns in the darkness, we need water from the sand. Oh, 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 Jerusalem. It's a miracle of rare device, begotten for a beggar's price. It's been 40 years and a day, time to wipe this weary mud away. The drum to war was sounding. It was 9 a.m. There were walls to keep the strangers out, but lock their children in. And the prophet, who was godless, saw the census of the times, and bravely shouted love to all the monsters on the land. Then suddenly amazed to find that love was echoed back in kind, from a voice so still and small it hardly was a voice at all. And then her wife said, don't you know, most things have to die to grow in their own time. So come, my love, upon the walls of Jerusalem, and cry out to a desert land. And we shall be not guns in the darkness, for we are water from the sand. Oh, 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 Jerusalem, oh. Stand on the walls of Jerusalem, cry out to a desert land. And we shall be not guns in the darkness, for we are water from the sand. Oh, 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 Jerusalem. He caught a train out of La Mancha, and it carried him down to the sea. Give me a one-way ticket to where you think I'd rather be. I don't know where the sun rises now, and I don't know where she will be. He caught a train from a Spanish sunrise, headed into an Irish sea. And out upon a tossing ocean, he was sick with the movement of the waves. In the desk he found a faded journal, and he settled down to reading every page. The sun had gone down, and his lamps had all burnt low, when the last entry finally set him free. He caught a train from a Spanish sunrise, headed into an Irish sea. There came the sound of summer running as he stood beside the railing in the dawn, and a half-remembered memory inside him, it awakened from a slumber decades long, and casting aside The mirrored face he wore, against his tail a gentle mutiny. He caught a train from a Spanish sunrise, headed into an Irish sea. Time flies like an arrow, straight toward the setting sun with nothing left behind. A season fine for Prometheus set free, and a medicine for melancholy found upon the sea. He caught a train out of La Mancha, and it carried him down to the sea. Give me a one-way ticket to where you think I'd rather be. I don't know where the sun rises now, and I don't know where she will be. He caught a train from a Spanish sunrise, headed into an Irish sea. So I'll tell you what, let's do we'll do two sets this evening, but I'll keep them a little bit shorter rather than doing one long set, because I have noticed as I get older, doing one long set gets more and more difficult because the bathroom is not here on the stage. That's never, when I was young and starting out, I never thought, no, that's, The first time I ever went to Alaska, I had a show, and it was one of my first big sit-down concerts. This was like 30 years ago, or maybe longer. And I was all excited. It was for the Petersburg Folk Society, and I thought, oh, I got to impress them. And so I played a first half that was an hour and a half long. Just the first half, and then I did a second. I'm surprised that anybody stayed. And years later, I did another show in Petersburg, and I apologize profusely. I don't think anybody was there for the second show. Was there for the first one all those years before. But a while back, I had some shows over in the UK and up in Scotland and Wales, and that's I just recently moved from Alaska down to the Oregon-California border. My dad's 94. Mom passed away. I was talking with another gentleman here earlier. Dad's 94, but he still goes and fishes the big steelhead rivers by himself. It's like, Dad, no, so I don't think he needs me to take care of him. But when I was playing these shows overseas, I was still living in Alaska, and I booked a show in upstate New York a few days before the London show. So the plan was to fly from Alaska to Seattle out to Newark, New Jersey, which was mistake number one. I'm not going to recommend the Newark airport to anybody. And I got a hotel that was just right next to the airport, so we could fly down. We get in at 11 o'clock at night, go to bed, get up the next morning, drive into upstate New York, play the show. It was a Sunday afternoon show, and then come back and take the red eye to London. So we land in Newark. We get the rental car, and we come out of the rental car parking lot, and there's the sign of the hotel just right on the other side of the parking lot. This is about 11:30 at night. And then at 2:30 in the morning, we can still see the sign to the hotel right across the parking lot. I couldn't get there. They were doing all this road construction. There were no signs. At that time, I was living on an island in Alaska that had 10 miles of road. That was it. You get to the end, and there's a sign. It says end. It's like, gee, I couldn't tell by the glacier beyond the sign, but we ended up on the New Jersey Turnpike 3 times. And on the third time, the lady, her name was Edna. We found this out. Edna came out of the toll booth, and she towered over the rental car, and she said, honey, I will smack you if I see you again. And so she gave us directions again. I still couldn't get there. Finally, like at 3 in the morning, we got there. like 100 yards away from the rental car place. So I promised Edna I would write her a song, and I have yet to send it to the New Jersey Transit Authority because I don't want to get her in trouble for threatening people that go through her toll booth. Well, the night was warm, the sky was clear as we sank down through the air. But we were lost, we were wandering through streets that did not care. This was before the Google Maps. The onboard navigation, oh, I swear, had gone insane, sending us in circles through streets that had no name. Then suddenly we saw them with New York on our right. Light lay all about them, it was pushing back the lonely night. And we came into their presence and we tried to find our way. Turned off the navigator to hear what they would say. And they were the toll booth ladies, those goddesses of the night. Toll booth ladies, when you're going wrong, well, they'll set you right. And it was in the asphalt jungle, Lord, lost as I could be. Toll booth ladies, rescue me. Well, now the second time we saw them, oh, they laughed and they said, no, not quite. Though it's nice to see you here again, well, you miss some lefts, you miss some rights. Now listen to my preaching, boy, and do not deviate. And you will reach your destination before it gets too late. And they were the toll booth ladies, those goddesses of the night. Toll booth ladies, when you're going wrong, well, they'll set you right. And it was in the asphalt jungle, Lord, lost as I could be. Toll booth ladies, rescue me. Well, now the third time that we saw them, they made us turn around. And Edna said, I will smack you if you stay lost and don't get found, 'cause you're headed for Manhattan. So she lifted up her hand and showed to me the road that headed into the promised land. I said, I can't get there from here. I can't get there from here. I can't get there from here. Oh, I looked out and I saw that light from the window by my bed. It wasn't very far away, I should have walked instead. But I left my grateful fingerprints pasted to the glass. And I fell asleep while I was clutching a Jersey toll booth pass. And they were the toll booth ladies, those goddesses of the night. The toll booth ladies, when you're going wrong, well, they'll set you right. And it was in the asphalt jungle, Lord, lost as I could be. Toll booth ladies, rescue me. One of the finest songs ever written, in my opinion. If you know the words, please sing along. In a minute, sing along. Not yet. It'll do. It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. Makes me tend to leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. And it's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten words and bonds and the ink stains that are dried upon some line. It keeps you on the back roads by the rivers of my memory and keeps you ever gentle on my mind. It's not clinging to the rocks and ivy planted on their columns now that bind me, or something that somebody said because they thought we fit together walking. It's just knowing that the world will not be cursing or forgiving as I walk along some railroad track and find that you're waiting on the back roads by the rivers of my memory, ever smiling, ever gentle on my mind. Though the wheat fields, the clotheslines, the junkyards, and the highways come between us, and some other woman's crying to her mother 'cause she turned and I was gone, I still might run in silence, tears of joy might stain my face, and a summer sun might burn me till I'm blind, but not to where I cannot see, walking on the back roads by the rivers flowing gentle on my mind. I dip my cup of soup back from a gurgling, crackling cauldron in some train yard, my beard a roughened and cold pile, and a dirty hat pulled low across my face. Through cup tans round a tin can, I pretend to hold you to my breast and find that you're waiting on the back roads by the rivers of my memory, ever smiling, ever gentle on my mind. Now, John Hartford wrote that, and Glenn Campbell made it famous. He was the one that put it on the map. But John Hartford wrote it, and John Hartford was an old Mississippi riverboat captain. And they asked him once in an interview, well, what were you thinking of when you wrote the song? And they expected that he was going to say, oh, I was on the Mississippi River under a weeping willow thinking of the one who got away or whatever. And he said, well, I was sick with the flu watching The Price is Right in a trailer court somewhere. I don't remember. And on this trip over to London, I had a show in Aberdeen, Scotland, in this little pub. And I told that story, and everybody laughed and thought it was funny. And then there was this instant of silence. And my daughter was with me. She was about 14 at the time. And in that little instant of silence, this little voice pipes up from the back. Well, gee, Dad, maybe you should buy us a television, and then you can start writing some good songs. They thought that was funnier than the stories. I am a wandering traveler, my journeys they are long, and I read the stories of this life in music and in song. And sometimes out upon the road and sometimes in the sky, I look before what I will find to see if I can try to find the footsteps of the one who's maybe gone before, or maybe follows now behind in wisdom and in lore. And someday maybe we will meet upon a sunny day, strangers with familiar brands walking in the way. Hey lady, won't you walk with me down along the river to a wine dark sea, between the cradle and my grave are years that won't be saved. So lady, won't you walk with me? Now some will dance on wings of gold and others take a fall. Some get by on feet of clay and some don't dance at all. The turning of the spinning ones and the circle of the moon all wind the seasons round again, and they play a piper's tune. And upwards from the sea they come, answering the call, life upon its final run, beginning of us all. Hey, lady, won't you walk with me down along the river to a cold, dark sea? Between the cradle and my grave are years that won't be saved. So, lady, won't you walk with me? I am a wandering traveler, my journeys they are long, and I read the stories of this life in music and in song. And here I've come to sing for you of what has gone before, or maybe follows now behind in wisdom and in lore. And so now for the time we have, think upon the day when as strangers with familiar brands we'll meet along the way. Hey, lady, won't you walk with me down along the river to a cold, dark sea? Between the cradle and my grave are years that won't be saved. So, lady, won't you walk with me? So I think I asked another gentleman this earlier. Why, I was surprised, why is the corn not planted yet? Last time he came through here was September and I couldn't see over the top. It's not warm enough? Oh. Well, you can send some of that rain our way. We need a little bit of it. Are you still below average? Yeah, it's dry everywhere. So normally you would be planted now in a regular year? No? Too early, wow. Well, it's a good thing I'm not a farmer because I would not. One of the things that I have been relieved to learn as I get older is that not only are we not defined by who we were even just yesterday, we're also not defined by who our family was and the things that they did. Oh, my fathers, the seeds that you have sown. You made your war across the sea and then you brought it home. All the children suffer for the gold that you have sought. It's not against your freedom, but your greed that I have fought. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Oh, my fathers, I will now condemn your hatred of my mother, of my sisters and my friends, your imaginary demons, woman, black or queer, your manufactured outrage against your shadow fear. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, my friends? What's going on? Oh, my fathers, I am a straight white man. But the reins of power that you hold, I will not take in hand. I reject the lies you've written. I reject the works you've wrought. I reject your profit margins, for love cannot be bought. What's going on? What's going on?
sisters, wear your dangerous coats. Oh, my lovers, wear your dangerous coats. With pockets full of love. Oh, my fathers, I declare your time is done. Nothing will I take from you, although I am your son. My hands are for my lovers, and for green and growing things. My time is meant for laughter and the songs that children sing. Oh, my fathers, oh, my fathers.
Yes, sir. That is out. That's off the newest one, The Midnight Commander. Notice, The Midnight Commander was here. That one came out after my mother was the family historian, and she's from the deep South. My dad was this dour old Pennsylvania Dutch dairy farmer, but she had done all this research on all the different branches of the family, and she had gone back to the county courthouses and the county seats, and she had written down everything that she got from everybody in the Bible, family history, and she had like receipts. On this day in 1846, Joseph Marsh went into the store and bought a piece of licorice for a penny and a bag of sugar for 25 cents and 2 yards of burlap. You know, she had everything. Unfortunately, those same receipts included things like, on this day, Joseph Marsh sold a baby girl. On this day, Joseph Marsh bought a woman for $850. And I have seen these handwritten receipts. And when I tried to talk to my family about it, and I was amazed, they're all educated and we all have PhD. Nobody would talk about it. Oh, we don't dwell upon the past. That's a complete abrogation of your moral responsibility, not even to mention it, you know. And I tried to talk to my mom, and even she wouldn't talk to me about it. So I was disgusted. This guitar was born young. What about this guitar? These guitars are they're carbon fiber. They're not wood. Anybody who plays when we're all done after the second half, you're more than welcome to come up and play them. You're not going to break them unless you do a Who and do a Pete Townsend and smash it. It's called a fan fret or a multi-scale guitar. And what it does is it corrects to some degree intonation problems that you have with straight frets. You're never going to be quite on note. But if you look at a piano, the bass strings are these big, long, massive, heavy things, and the treble strings are these really tiny things. And the bass sound wave is this big, long, slow thing, and the treble is So by changing the string length with the fan fret, you have improved the intonation, you've lowered the tension on the bridge and the neck. These are actually medium gauge strings. They're not lights. I used to always play lights. And it gives this broader range between the low bass and the treble. So when I opened up, I was in this weird open C tuning, and this low string was tuned down to C, and it can still hit that note and not buzz, and just has this rich, I just love it. They're just wonderful guitars. So if you play, please come up and play them.
You said semi-drivers impressed you. You're playing impressed.
I'm sorry?
You were saying how semi-drivers impressed you.
I am very impressed by truckers.
Like that's not compared to what you're
I drive a Prius. Baby's gone sick and he won't stop crying. Mama trying to feed him, slowly dying. Smoke from the tires burning, rising high. Names in the river flowing past. Tears in a bucket rising fast. Faces washed away by a camera's eye. Oh my. Hey, give to me your sorrow, and I will give to you my freedom. And if you are sick and weary, let me carry you on my back. Look into tomorrow, it is filled with all our children. So let us find the lost ones, and together we will carry them home.
Coins on the eyes for them that's gone. Rain wash away all the blood that's drawn. Grass grow long on the stones in the greening fields. One more drink and the pain is gone. One more prayer than a fiery dawn. One more mother left to wonder why, oh why. Hey, give to me your sorrow and I will give to you my freedom. And if you are sick and weary, let me carry you on my back. Look into tomorrow, it is filled with all our children. So let us find the lost ones and together we will carry them home. Lines in the sand from years gone by. Old men can't remember why. Tin roof shacks as far as the eye can see. Tomorrow by the smoke it's rising. Someone's burning, no denying. One more day like the only days we've ever known. I heard the stones cry out. I heard the stones cry out in the night. I heard the stones cry out. And they said, give to me your sorrow, I will give to you my freedom. And if you are sick and weary, let me carry you on my back. Look into tomorrow, it is filled with all our children. So let us find the lost ones and together we will carry them home. Carry them home. Oh, carry them home.
Tell you what, let's finish up with two more, and then we'll take a little break, and then we'll come back and finish up with a second set. I do have some CDs and shirts over there for sale. The one, The Road to Elfland, is actually a dual CD DVD album. The DVD has a music video to the song The Queen of Elfland, which we'll do on the 12 string in the second half. And it also has a 25-minute behind the scenes filming of and why the hell we should care about myth and heroes in the 21st century. And while you can find the music video on my website and YouTube and the usual places, the behind the scenes and other thing, that's only on the DVD. You won't find that anywhere else. So we're going to close this with two tunes off the new album, The Midnight Commander. And I had something else I was going to say, and it's gone now. That's another thing I'm discovering about getting older. It's like, yeah, it'll come back maybe tomorrow. I'll call everybody up. Give me your phone numbers. Out in the Irish Sea between Ireland, you hear that deeper resonance? I love it. Out in the Irish Sea between Ireland and the coast of Wales and Scotland, there's a little tiny, tiny island called the Isle of Man. And really, where did they grow up? You're kidding me, really? Well, that's where my wife spent most of her growing up, was... There you go. Oh, well, there's a Facebook site called Culture Vannon, and it's a daily post all about mythology and history and anything like that. Check on that. I thought you guys were all Swedes. What's the deal? Well, then I just won't tell that you all already know it all. Well, no, it's just that my wife spent a lot of her growing up there in a little tiny town called Kirkmichael.
There's a house about Kirkmichael out upon the Irish Sea, where it's written on the doorway where the windows used to be, that all who come inside will be tucked in for a lovely evening tea. There's a house about Kirkmichael, and it's tilted on its side, drunk upon the tempest, surrounded by the tide, but solid of Byzantium, where candled windows and the dark collide. There's a house about Kirkmichael, and it's full of sleepy bears, and a dozen shabby tigers who pounce upon the stairs, and out along the widow's walk Joe Strummer singing with the mescalaires. And well about Kirkmichael is a child who loves the dogs, and one who plants her flowers from the garden catalogs, and one who builds her dragons hidden softly in the heavy autumn fogs. Only heroes dare the kitchens, with pies and pudding on the wall and floor. It's my favorite mystery, it's the pages of our history. There's a house about Kirkmichael, and in it I will die. I'll leave it for the children, the windows open wide, those poets and their patchwork quilted boats to set them free. These fragments have I shored against my ruin, and love shall not be lost in this summer-flowered house beside the sea.
All right, we'll finish up this half with the title track, The Midnight Commander. And one of my things is finding the mythic in the everyday, because without the everyday, the mythic wouldn't exist. The mythic is the everyday distilled like fine whiskey. And everybody, in my opinion, everybody, I don't care who you are, where you come from, what your identity is, everybody is on the hero's quest. And broken at last by despair, his futile sanity is laid waste. And knighted in his armored mind, he rides forth to heal the world. He casts aside his given name, and he takes up the mantle of the Midnight Commander. He patrolled the New York subway, the Q train Broadway line, from 96th on down to Coney Isle. His superhero mask was red, it was a pair of underwear, with rubber boots and cape, a kitchen towel. And he knew the nightly riders, he'd call them all by name, and they made sure his nightly fare was paid, while his history was hidden and his origins obscure. On a ragged subway seat, a New York hero he was made. If angry words were thrown against two women holding hands, or a homeless man was kicked and put to shame, if someone in a turban was pushed around and cursed, oh, his eyes would flash and loudly he'd exclaim, he'd say, I am the Midnight Commander. I am a flame, I'm a beacon in the night. I am the Midnight Commander. Oh, set aside your hatred, put aside your fear, for the Midnight Commander is here. Oh, the Midnight Commander is here.
Now everyone he challenged, they felt his gentle power, and they'd falter in their hatred and their pain, standing quiet, wondering at the seasons of the heart, and an old man in pajamas on the train. And the riders of the subway, the Q train Broadway line, were proud and tall when he would pass them by. They'd smile at one another and they'd give a mighty cheer whenever they would hear his ringing cry, when he said, I am the Midnight Commander. I am a flame, I'm a beacon in the night. I am the Midnight Commander. Oh, set aside your hatred, put aside your fear, for the Midnight Commander is here. Oh, the Midnight Commander is here. But all good deeds are punished, and someone finally made the call to New York's Metro Clinic with a tale. And a bed check found one empty. They found the window open wide. They found footprints headed toward the subway rail. And so the lords of Bedlam came, each one dressed in white, and they found him riding on his nightly fare. They called him by his given name, and that took away his soul and brought him back to his confused despair. But I am the Midnight Commander, he said, as they gently led him off into the night. But I am the Midnight Commander, who will keep them from their hatred, rescue them from fear, if the Midnight Commander's not here. Oh, if the Midnight Commander's not here. Now the New York City subway, the Q train, Broadway line, gallops through the night just like before. But at 96th and 2nd, all the riders take a stand, for New York's Don Quixote was no more. And on the empty platform, as the train moves on its way, if you listen very closely, you can hear the voices say, they say, remember, remember, don't give in to hatred or to fear. Remember, oh, remember now, the Midnight Commander was here. It started in Manhattan. It was a single burning flame. It spread to Queens, the Bronx, and then Brooklyn. And Staten Island was the same. And Macy's, they ran out of red underwear, and rubber boots could simply not be found. Words were carved upon the subway walls, and 1,000 voices thundered with a sound. And the words said, I am the Midnight Commander. I am a flame, I'm a beacon in the night. I am the Midnight Commander. Oh, set aside your hatred, put aside your fear, for the Midnight Commander is here. Oh, the Midnight Commander is here. All right, thank you. We'll take about a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back. All right, let's see.
It's just a guy in Germany. His PhD is in aeronautics or aerodynamics, and so he's used to making custom airplane parts. So he's got the precision down. Plus he is German, and it's very precise. You have a Kloss or a Blackbird? Two words sounds like. What they're doing with the carbon fiber, what they do with plastics these days, it's fuck. Well, I got into playing carbon fiber because I was living in Alaska. And so I played a pair of rain songs for years. And because I could get off the plane in Fairbanks and it'd be 55 below zero, and I would care, but the guitars wouldn't. And then too many times on the airlines, well, a Journey, yeah, they make good stuff. No, the 12 string just got beat up too much, and the control panel kept getting pushed through the thing, and it was awful. And but Rain Song at that point was not making 12 strings anymore. They had redone their neck profile, and so they weren't doing them. So I was looking for another maker who would make me a 12 string. And do a fan fret. And the funny thing is that Thomas had never built a 12 string. So I just kept bugging him for a couple of years until finally he says, "Is that all right? I will build you a 12 string." Oh. Well, that's French, no. Zuttalor, stay away from my scooter. But I couldn't pay him to pour a mold for a new headstock. So this is identical to that one. And we found these little tiny tuners and did all these other things to try to fit a 12 string onto a 6-string body. I'm fluent in German. I went to school at the University of Munich. And I can sound my way through Biblical Greek and Hebrew. Unlike my wife, who speaks everything. Her mother was I'm going to throw her mother under the bus here. Her mother was a trust fund baby who dragged the kids all over the world, which is why she was on the Isle of Man. But she was also she grew up in Libya and Corfu and Barcelona, London, just all over the place. So she speaks all smattering of just about everything. Yeah, when this thing gets tuned up, it's really. What's the horse of a different color, a cat of a different pajama, or whatever? All right. Well, let me get this thing in tune, and then we will do a second half. Because it's well, we're doing well. We only have an attrition of 2 at intermission. That's pretty good. You guys are wild partiers. Leo Kotke said that audiences love terror, so we'll have a wee bit of terror in the second half. I don't know if I will tell you when the terror is coming or just let it wash over you. And this is, oh, Lady Blue Eyes. Hi, sweetheart. Yes, I see you.
Night was riding lonely, and the road was winding long. The sun had barely risen, frost was shining in the dawn. His sword was sharp, his lance was keen, his armor burnished bright, and as he rode he sang with all his might. He sang, hey, 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 well, I am a knight, I am a knight, I am a knight, said he. Of all the kingdoms of the world, no finer thing to be. And he'd held the vigil rightly, he'd watched his arms by night, and in the morning came the king and made him there a knight. Sent forth a mighty hero to defend the castle walls, and all who walk within its mighty halls. For I am a knight. Blood red was the sunrise, and blood red was the field. The knight lay fierce about him, and he brought the foe to yield. And those who fought, he cut them down, and he left them where they lay. Then he took the road to fight another day. Oh, hey, 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 hey. Well, I am a knight, I am a knight. He tried to find the song, but silence overtook him as he sadly rode along. And under midday shadows, oh, the night began to yield. Perhaps my spurs are better served than fighting in the field. No castle wall to build or guard, no blood to stain the soul, but blankets for the winter and food in every bowl. For I am a knight. The farmer had no harvest plow, so the knight gave him his sword. His lance became a bargeman's pole to help him cross the ford. His armor turned to cups and bowls, his shield a chalice bright, his helm a lantern shining in the night. Oh, hey, 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 hey. The night was riding lonely, the road was winding long. The sun was slowly sinking, with darkness coming on. No sword, no lance to take the field, in rags against the cold. But as he rode, he sang out brave and bold. He sang, hey, 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 hey. Well, I am a knight, oh, I am a knight, I am a knight, said he. Of all the kingdoms of the world, no finer thing to be. I am a knight, oh, I am a knight, I am a knight, said he. Of all the kingdoms of the world, no finer thing to be.
This place, I gotta say, this place must be absolutely marvelous at Halloween.
On mouse feet crept along among the fallen leaves, and William rode his lonely way beside a murmuring twilight shore of Wales. It was All Hallows Eve. And thought he of his own sweetheart, he did not hear the horn that sounded faintly far behind, from beyond the bourne. But soon he heard the pounding hoofs that shook the very ground, and with a mighty rushing wind the riders ringed him round. Their eyes shone in the blade at night, they smelled of earth and air, with voices like a howling wind, their faces cruel and fair. And for to ride on All Hallows Eve demanded they their toll, and gave him then a race to win for his life and soul. Oh, ride, young William, ride tonight, Elfland's on your trail, to take your soul if you should lose upon the shores of Wales. Then came to him a midnight horse, whose rider wore a crown, and gazing at him with a smile, bade him to step down. A steed as red as blood or gold was given to his rein, a fairy mount to match my own, evens out the game. Know you, sir, the gallows oak that overlooks the sea, a league or more straight on from here, that our goal shall be. And if you win home, you shall go free from curse or pain. Ah, but if I catch you, mine you'll be, and come not home again. Then William bravely up and cried, these terms be far from fair. I stand to lose my own dear soul, and you not one small hair. A blacksmith now by trade I am, your risk must match my own. I'll forge your soul into my swords, and steel shall be your home. Oh, ride, young William, ride tonight, Elfland's on your trail, to take your soul if you should lose upon the shores of Wales. So be it, cried the Midnight King, to yours I pledge my soul. They brought their horses side by side, and faced them towards the goal, and faster than the wind they flew. William rode the storm, and behind them came the Elven host, winding on their horns. Sat veiled in tangled cloud, and sank down through the trees, and William's horse walked slow and cold beside a murmuring sea, upon an empty shore of Wales. It was All Hallows Eve.
I think this one is my favorite of all the songs that I have ever written. We filmed a big music video to it along with The Queen of Elfland, which we'll do here in a minute, with a movie company in British Columbia, in Vancouver. And that one you can find on my website and social media and that kind of stuff. I shouldn't be sexist, but I love singing this song for women who are old enough to have some starlight in their hair and some dirt beneath your toes. And I love, in this youth-obsessed society, I love seeing you folks walk down the street, and I know that each and every one of you has in your memory a month or a summer or maybe an entire year with someone you have never forgotten, and probably nobody got very much sleep in that time. And it was golden days and silver nights on the hills of Beltane. This is Lost Lovers Waltz.
Alone on the dance floor at midnight, waiting for you to appear. Red velvet dress and black satin lace dusted my memories dear. But you're waiting alone on a floor like my own for a man with a face that's not mine. So I'll dance alone with a ghost I once knew, once upon a time. This is my lost lover's waltz, dancing like lovers do. Oh, this is my lost lover's lost waltz, that I never danced with you. And down by the water, where the minstrels all play, and the painters, they wait for the light. The dancers, they sit with their feet in their hands, and they quietly rest from the night. And the playwrights, they sit with their quills in their hands, and they drink their black coffee like wine. But no words they write can turn back the pages when you were the measure of time. This is my lost lover's waltz, dancing like lovers do. Oh, this is my lost lover's lost waltz, that I never danced with you. They say Paris is magic. They say Paris is the city of love, and I love all my memories of Baudelaire nights and mornings with you dressed in sunlight. Ooh, dee 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 dee, la 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 la. Ooh, do 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 do, dee 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 dee, la 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 la. Alone on the dance floor at midnight, candles beginning to fade. The mirrors are empty, they won't show my face. Shadows and silent parade. And locking the doors as I make my way home through the empty streets crowded too soon. Following footsteps that lead ever onward, stepping in time with the moon. This is my lost lover's waltz, dancing like lovers do. This is my lost lover's lost waltz, that I never danced with you. Ooh, dee 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 dee.
So, since we are so far away from the ocean, now the Selkies are the seal people. Those who can shed their seal skin and set it aside and take on human form and walk on the land. And on some beaches, at some times, the Selkies will come out and they will put their seal skins aside, and in human form they will dance under the full moon.
Moon and tide, the water is deep, the water is wide. But the moon and the tide have brought us here to dance all night with the sky so near. Up jumped the sun and the moon disappears. Then it's home to the waves and the water so dear.
On this particular night, near this particular beach, an old fisherman was rowing home late one night after casting his nets off the outer banks. And he heard the sound of singing across the water, and he looked and he saw the Selkies dancing on the beach under the moon. And he shipped his oars, and he sat quietly on the dark water, and he listened to them sing, and he watched them dance, and one particular Selkie caught his eye. And she was old as he was, for her face was a mass of lines and wrinkles. And her great mane of hair was the color of driftwood long, long on the beach. But she jumped as high and danced as merry as any there on the beach. And the old fisherman watched for a long time before putting his oars in and rowing away home. And when next the moon was full, the old fisherman walked down from his house on the beach, and he took a basket and he filled it with fish from the day's catch, and he went down to the beach where the Selkies were dancing. And when they saw him, they ran from him to the other side of the beach and where they had piled their seal skins, because in all the stories, a human in love with a Selkie will steal her skin and hide it so that she cannot go back into the water and has to stay with him. But the old man came and he set his basket down and showed them the fish, and he held out his hands to show that he meant no harm. And he walked up to the old Selkie and he said, "I am old, and the few years that remain to me would seem like the blink of an eye to one such as you who lives so long. And I am afraid of dying and the darkness. And I would like you to come and stay with me in my house, in your own room, and keep me company." And the old Selkie glared at him, and she thrust her sealskin behind her, and he felt the power of her years, and he smiled soft and a little sad, and he said, No. I would never, ever take your sealskin from you. I am too old for love, but I would hope for friendship freely given." And the old woman was surprised, and her eyes got so wide that for a moment she did indeed look like a seal. And she peered at him for a minute. And then she reached out her hand gently and touched him on the cheek, and she said but a single word. She said, "Wait." And then, giggling like a little girl, she threw on her sealskin and dove home beneath the waves. And the old fisherman returned home. And he went to sea, and he caught his fish, and he sold his fish at market. And the night that he had seen the Selkies seemed to pass like a dream, one that leaves the pillow damp with tears just before sunrise. But when next the moon was full, he took his basket of fish, and he walked down to the beach where the Selkies were dancing. And the old woman walked up to him, and she held out her hand, and she said but a single word. She said, "Dance."
Moon and tide, the water is deep and the water is wide. But the moon and the brought us here to dance all night with the sky so near. Up jumped the sun and its moon disappears. Then it's home to the waves and the water so dear. And the old fisherman danced all night with the Selkies. And when the sun rose, she reached out again and touched his face and then went home beneath the water. And the next month, the same thing happened. He took his basket of fish and he set it down, and they danced all night. And at the end of the night, the old Selkie walked up to him, and she held out her hands, and she said but a single word. She said, "Beard." And the old fisherman whipped out his knife that had cut rope and fish and sails, and he cut off his beard square below the chin, and he looked really silly with little hair sticking out left and right. But he set the beard into the old Selkie's hand, and she curled her fingers tight around it, and she took it home with her under the water. And the next month when they danced at the end of the night, she held out her hand and she said, "Hair." And again the knife did its work, and now he really looked silly with little cut-off strands sticking out like stale straw, and all the Selkies laughed, and they ran their hands over his head, and he laughed with them, and the old woman took his hair under the water. The next month, she had the tiny shell of a sea creature that he didn't recognize, and she said but a single word. She said, "Blood." And again, the knife did its work, and a moment later, the little shell was full of blood, and she cradled it like a newborn as she left the beach. And thereafter, every time that they danced under the full moon, at the end of the night, the old Selkie would come up to him and ask him for something. And one time it was one of his boots, so he walked home with one boot and one sock. And the other time she asked for one of his old coats that he wore to sea when the weather grew wet. And every time, whatever she asked, he freely gave to her without condition or constraint or question. And then came the night when the moon rose full over fields ripe for the harvest. And all the salmon were swimming upstream in all the rivers. And the old fisherman carried his basket of fish down to the beach, and he set it down for his friends, but he was very, very tired that night, and he couldn't dance. And so he sat on the keel of a long-ago shipwreck. And his friends sat with him and held his hand, and they watched the Selkies dance and listened to them sing all night. And when the sun was turning the eastern sky to pale wheat, the Selkies waved goodbye, and they all went home. And the old Selkie helped her friend up and helped him walk down to the edge of the water. And this time, she had a gift for him. And she reached into the sand and she pulled out his very own sealskin that she had made with her magic and from all the gifts that he had freely given her. And she showed him how to wiggle into it and put it on. And she put hers on too. And they stood there with just their faces showing, looking for all the world like little children playing in the blankets just before bedtime. And he laughed with the silly joy of it, and she laughed too. And then she said but a single word. She said, "Love." And then quick as a salmon flashing bright in the sun, they slipped their cowls over their faces, and together they dove home beneath the waves. Moon and tide, the water is deep, the water is wide. But the moon and the tide have brought us here to dance all night with the sky so near. Up jumped the sun and the moon disappeared. It's home to the waves and the water so dear. I am the queen of Elfland, Thomas, said the writing on the wall. Look for me on the A train headed south when you thought you wouldn't find me at all. I've been watching you all your life, my bed and board. Sing for me in the dawn. Sing for me as the crowd rushes in and the loudspeaker says to get on. Sing for me by the sun and the moon, though neither one hang in the sky. Electric blue is the light underground as the time passes seamlessly by. Trade your songs for silence now. To the truth has your tongue been trained, till the winds and the seasons change. I am the queen of Elfland, Thomas. You are mine, you are mine, you are mine. For though you walk on the earth once again, it will be for a very short time. For when the sun finally sets in the west and you give your last breath to the sky, go into the sunlight and under the hill, summer king, summer king, summer king, we will fly. Oh, into the sunlight and under the hill, summer king, oh, summer king, we will fly.
Tell you what, let's finish up with this last one with one more. And again, thank you folks so much for coming out tonight. And Jon, thank you for the opportunity to come and play. I would love to come back and see this place in the fall. I bet it's just absolutely marvelous. And I will sign those. I got to run back to the car and get a pen that'll actually write on those. I forgot to bring them in. My favorite author is Ray Bradbury. A friend of mine is a painter, and she was actually at one of his last public readings, and she painted some pictures of him, and he signed them. And I have one of those on my studio wall at home. But in 1959, Ray Bradbury published a short story, and then later a collection of short stories named after that, The Machineries of Joy. And it's about a bunch of priests sitting around discussing a papal encyclical on space travel. And before I did my graduate work in fisheries and statistics, I was in seminary in Berkeley, and I can assure you there is no papal encyclical on space travel. You might wonder, but there's not one. That was probably the only thing I got of worth out of my seminary time. We were not very imaginative even in our graffiti. The most we ever did was St. Francis Assisi. It's pretty lame. But we did have a saying that you could tell who you'd been partying with Saturday night by what time you got home Sunday morning. And if you'd been out with the Dominicans, you were home by 2 in the morning because Lauds begins at 5. You got to get up, get it done, no messing around. And if you'd been out with the Franciscans, you didn't come home until after breakfast the next morning because they like to P-A-R-T-Y, because I gotta. And if you'd been out with the Jesuits, you were face down in the gutter by midnight. But I digress, I'm sorry. At one point in the story, one of the priests gets up and he says, "Did not the poet William Blake write of the machineries of joy, and thus sent forth at our best?" in fair climes and on calm noons, are we not God's machineries of joy? I'm not much for drinking whiskey, and I surely don't like wine. I'm not much for beer on Saturday nights, but I can drink you down just fine. And I'm not much for fancy houses or expensive cars to drive. Sometimes they're fun to play with, but they don't keep you alive. And we are born for summer mornings, running golden through the day. A night wind blows through winter's grass, we regret fade away. Give us gods, give them us, let our love be not destroyed. Rise and fall, years and all, the machineries of joy. There are no words for what we do here. We love our children anyway. My daughter as my walking shoes to help her find her way. And if God in pregnant silence hides, our questions tumble to the ground. We can protect our children from this pain, so we seek to strike it down. Give us gods, give them us, let our love be not destroyed. Rise and fall, years and all, the machineries of joy. Came from brilliance and I returned there. I think there's irony in this. Come sit beside me now, hold my hand, give to me a lover's kiss. And this alone shall be my reason to write my meaning in the sand and spend our time beneath our summer sun, spilling sunlight from our hands. And so I love you like fine chocolate, especially the dark kind. And like the waters from the river, oh, I can drink you down just fine. Give us gods, oh, give them us, let our love be not destroyed. Through rise and fall, through years and all, oh, these are the machineries of joy. These are the machineries of joy. All right, thank you so much. Good night.
You're missing a little Heartland connections. Hope you all had a good time tonight. Thanks for listening to me. Hope I've been a little bit of a Heartland connection for you all. Thanks for supporting music. Thanks to John Taylor and the crew here, everybody. was good to see you. It was good to see you again. It was good to see your face again. Good to see you. It was good to see you. It was good to see you again. Good to make a Heartland connection. It was good to see you.
Again, thank you for watching, and look for future concerts at heartlandconnections.com or Heartland Connections on Facebook and YouTube.
Thank you. Keep your head up. Don't back down. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
I took a little